Hey, everybody, welcome back or welcome to the Creepy Cascadia podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, or if you always tune in, thank you for coming back.
It's my first time.
Bullshit. As always, I'm Sammy, one of your hosts, and I am accompanied by my smoking hot firecracker co host. I see what I did there.
Yeah.
Slash husband, Adam.
Hey, hey.
How you doing today, my love?
Could be better.
Yeah,
Like,
your
I don't
throat's
know.
not feeling great.
Yeah, something happened. I don't know if I yeah, I'm blaming it on the cats.
Yeah,
Thinking like I had like a bit of a reaction to something.
yeah. And you
And so
forgot
I
to take your
didn't
allergy pill
sleep.
yesterday.
Yeah.
You didn't take a Benadryl last night.
Yeah. Basically, just didn't. If I thought it was an allergic reaction, I didn't treat it whatsoever.
And now you're paying for it today.
And yeah, so I got that. I got that crackly, groggy voice.
We are also recording in the morning, which we really don't do very often.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
Not
I.
a. No,
Sorry. Blah,
but,
blah.
but, but.
Go on.
So I've been told in the past that my gravelly, sick voice is kind of sexy. I don't know your opinions on this though. That's from previous ladies long, long before I met you.
You had other ladies before you met me. How fucking dare you?
I know, right?
Well, I always think your voice is sexy,
Yeah.
so.
I mean, but I've been told it's kind of like deeper when it's gravelly or like when I have a sore throat.
Okay, well, first off, we have to get this recorded before we can do anything else, so stop talking like that.
And I want lunch.
I want you for lunch.
Oh, protein shake.
God. Never mind. No, your voice is sexy. It is a little deeper, but I always think you have a sexy voice, so
Okay.
I just want you to like narrate my life,
Yeah.
narrate our sex life. And then,
Yeah. We'll move on. Moving on.
hey, you brought it up. I'm just expanding on your. I just feel like you
I
wanted to.
asked about my voice. You're the one that jumped straight to.
You're the one that said, past ladies in my life have said my voice is real sexy when it's gravelly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you just want to talk about your basic bitches, but whatever.
Well, I feel like it hasn't come up. I don't know. I definitely been sick a few times since we've been together, but
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, maybe don't comment on it because, like you said, you already find my voice sexy.
I do
Even though,
find you, I find your voice, your body, your
yeah,
personality, your sense of humor, everything sexy.
I don't know. Whenever I hear my voice, I'm like everybody else in the world. When I hear my voice like recorded, I'm like, that doesn't sound like me.
That ain't me. Well, speaking of basic bitches, you know what I'm getting excited for?
Pumpkin spice lattes.
Everything pumpkin spice. I actually went onto the coffee creamer site that I like the brand that I like. I went onto their website to see if they have the date when their pumpkin spice is coming back. And it said next season, but they didn't have a date with it. So,
Hmm.
but I did see like Starbucks August 23rd, I think it is. They're bringing back their pumpkin spice latte, which I do love. I love anything pumpkin spice though. Like anything cinnamony and pumpkiny, I'm here for.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm pretty basic when it comes down to it, right? Like, I love pumpkin spice, cozy sweaters, true crime. Like, I'm your basic white bitch, like
Yeah.
for real. Yeah, but they're a stereotype for a reason. Pumpkin spice is delicious and it slaps, and I
Yeah.
will
It's not too
die on
bad.
that hill.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking last night. I didn't know this, but you're like, I knew that you really liked pumpkin pie, but I didn't know that it was your favorite pie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I
it's
would put it as my favorite pie.
fucking delicious. Goddamn birds.
Birds, tweet, 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 tweet.
It reminds me of the episode of Parks and Rec when they're on their like camping retreat and April's on the phone with Andy when they're like first started dating and she's like, God, where are you? She's like, these birds won't stop tweeting and there's a brook somewhere that's just babbling and then she like, oh, shut up. Like
Yeah.
So it
Like
reminds me
hates
of.
the sounds of nature.
Yep. We don't
Yeah.
hate the sounds of nature. We just hate them when they interrupt our recording.
Yeah, we're trying to record.
Yeah. So if you guys are getting the nature vibe today, that's because of the birds.
Yeah. We're about to record our own nature sounds album. It's going to be birds
And cats.
and cat sounds and farts.
That is nature. Very naturey. And cat farts.
Cat farts? I don't think I ever hear cat farts, but
I heard him on Letterkenny. Remember Fart Book?
yeah, I blog out that episode. I do not. That is one of the few episodes that I'm like, I tell people they have to get past it because it's not funny.
I think, okay, the funniest part of that episode is Glenn when he's like talking about the filters that he puts on the fart. He's like, y'all think you have a market on the farts? No. Like, and he just goes into all these different like fart sites and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He like rips off their idea.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
like, you guys aren't the first one to do it.
Yep.
He's funny. Glenn is hilarious in every single like everything that he does. I feel like is just fucking funny.
Yeah.
Glenn's my favorite. One of my favorites.
One of
I
my
love them
favorites.
all, but he's just hilarious. And I wish he would do more, but I think he's more on like the producer side of everything. Like,
yeah, I think he's like writing, directing, producing,
yeah.
and
But he's hilarious in the fucking show. Like Pastor Glenn. I've been rewatching Letterkenny. Like I've had it on, in the background. The Rips and Revelations one.
yeah, that's what I was about to go to. I was about to Revelations.
My street preachings.
Yeah. The church didn't like where I was going or what I was doing, so I'm out here straight preaching, going where the Lord tells me.
Yep. If you guys haven't watched the show Letterkenny, it's Canadian, it's on Hulu, and it's amazing. We love it.
Yeah.
We went to the live show. It was great. That actually
I don't
popped up
think
in my...
Jacob Tierney was there.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
He went to like a one after ours that was in a different state.
Yeah.
I think like California or something. Because we were super excited thinking maybe we would see him.
Yeah.
But he wasn't there after our 2-year delay.
Yeah.
Because we had bought those tickets, so they had Letterkenny Live that was coming out in 2020, and we're like, ooh, that's like a few months after our wedding. That would be something to look forward to after the wedding, because you spend so much time planning a wedding. We're like, we should do something fun after just to have like, something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And then 2020, we got married in February 2020, and the world shut down like a week or two after we got back from our honeymoon, which we are super lucky that we did not get shut down by COVID. Nothing got delayed. Like, we were very, very lucky. But
I know a bunch of people who were planning to get married later in 2020 and all their plans got fucked.
and we were talking about getting in like spring of 2020,
Yeah.
and we decided to do it earlier. And man, I'm so glad we did,
Yeah.
because we had a fun wedding.
Yeah. Honeymoon wasn't too bad either.
No, I love vacation, Adam. You're real frisky.
You drugged me.
I did not drug you.
You
So,
did. You
the
did.
first time I ever saw this man drunk was on our honeymoon, because we're not big drinkers like anymore. We were wild in our 20s or whatever, but
Those days are behind me. Yes.
very behind me. And we were drinking at the pool because we went to this all-inclusive. It was amazing. We had a swim-up bar. So we were sitting in the swim-up bar, like the party bar pool, essentially, talking to another couple who was also on their honeymoon. And I was like going up, getting us drinks, like, you're sitting in the water, the drinks taste really good, they go down pretty easy.
Yep.
So Adam started getting all handsy, and the couple's like, geez, get a room. And Adam's like, we got one, let's go. And he stood up, and he realized he was pretty drunk. Like, because, you're sitting in the water, until you stand up, you don't realize how drunk you are,
Yeah.
you're just feeling good, sipping your drinks. And we were walking back to the room, and he was essentially, like, leaning on me because he was feeling pretty good.
I was a little wobbly.
And he's like, did you fucking roofie me? I'm like, how would that benefit me in any way, shape, or form? Like, really?
I don't know. You wanted an adventure like The Hangover.
Now, I would like to point out, I was like 2-1 on his drinks, and I was fine. I mean, I was feeling good, but I wasn't drunk. But I also used to drink a lot more than you did.
I provide that as evidence that you drugged me.
No, shut
Like,
up! Or that you just can't hold your liquor.
In fact, you're like, I could walk fine. I'm like, I think you were drunk too.
I was drunk. Like I wasn't as drunk as you, but I was
Yeah.
I was feeling pretty good.
Yeah, you were the one going up and getting drinks, so I think the bartender was being
Thinking I was drinking your
real,
drinks and trying to roofie
real
you.
nice or something.
Oh yeah, he
You
poured some
know.
shots in my mouth at one point.
Yeah. He was trying to get you lit, right?
Yeah, too bad he didn't know. I was great at holding my liquor.
Yeah.
Not anymore though. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you still hold your liquor for the most part. It's the hangovers you don't like.
Yeah,
And
so
then
I
you did
just
have
don't.
that one time with Fireball.
I actually just told that story at work yesterday.
Yeah.
I was like, one of the girls at work had said that she had like over the weekend she'd had some drinks and she was like puking all night. She's like, I'm not. I mean, she's quite a bit. Yeah, I think she's like maybe 30. I don't remember. But I was like, oh, do you want to hear about the story that caused me to stop drinking pretty much? And so I was like, picture it. It was December 2020. Like Golden Girls. Picture it. Sicily, 1918. I don't know. Did you ever watch Golden Girls?
I did watch Golden Girls. But this was
Sophia would
not.
do that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
This is
she's
not
like,
sparking any
picture
memories,
it.
though. Yeah.
Sicily, 1918. But anyways, yeah, I got super hammered and was being obnoxious at a Christmas cookie decorating party for children, essentially, and a birthday party. And I
Yeah.
drank a lot of Fireball, and I was calling everybody a pussy because they weren't taking shots with me. And I spent the night throwing up in my friend's bathroom because I was staying at her house for the weekend. And
Yeah.
it was awful. And then it made me even feel even worse. And I know this is not, I mean, this is so funny, but like, I told you, like, I came home that next morning and I was like, I drank too much. Like, I was throwing up all night. And you're like, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And you were like trying to take care of me. And I'm like, you're not supposed to be nice to me right now. I did it to myself. Don't try to make me feel better about my terrible choices.
Yeah, I might had I gone to the party, I might have been able to help you make better choices.
100% you would have been able to help me make better choices. But anyways, yeah. So I'm excited for fall. I'm going to say that up until fall starts.
Well, yeah,
and
you keep
after.
saying that you can finally you can decorate for Halloween on July 5th.
So that's tomorrow, the day
Just
this episode
tomorrow.
comes out. But I'm excited. We have some family trips coming up for the summer, and that'll be fun. But yeah, I'm excited for fall. Fall's just like my happy place. I feel like zen when it's fall.
Yeah,
Those cold, sunny, crispy days where it's
yeah.
just
I think
makes me horny for the weather.
I have a feeling I'm gonna enjoy fall a little less this year because we've had AC in our house this summer.
So it hasn't been fucking miserable.
Yeah, like one of the best parts about fall is that you're no longer gonna be fucking miserable
Yep.
with the heat.
Yeah. I feel like it doesn't seem like as summery as much because we haven't really gone out and enjoyed the weather very much because we've just been busy, right? Like we've
Yeah.
had our first few weeks of really nice weather, but we have AC now, so it's not like we're hiding out in our basement anymore, avoiding the heat like vampires, the sunlight like vampires, because AC was the best investment we've ever made, I feel like, for the house.
Yeah, like we can actually like leave our windows open during the day.
Our curtains, you mean?
Like yeah, sorry, the curtains, not the actual windows
We ain't
themselves.
paying to cool the outside.
Yeah. It's yeah, we can keep the curtains open so we get the sunlight and it's still like cool in our house. Whereas
Yeah.
before it was like you're right, vampires was probably the right way. It was like come upstairs, oh my god, it's already starting to get hot. Close all the curtains, close all the curtains, close all the curtains. Sit in the dark, sit in the dark.
Yeah.
All right, it's nighttime. Okay, like it's finally the temperature's starting to come down. Like open all the curtains, open some windows, try to get some.
Because it was literally hotter
Yeah.
in our inside of our house than it was outside of our house for
Yeah.
most of the time. Like our house would be a solid 5 to 10 degrees hotter than the outside temperature.
Yeah,
So yeah, excited for the summer. We got some things going on. I did want to do a little bit of podcast housekeeping. So we mentioned
Okay.
last episode we're gonna hopefully get our Patreon going here. For anybody that doesn't know, Patreon is basically a subscription service where if you subscribe, you can do. There's different amounts per month, and with that subscription, you get extra content. So I think we had talked about you would get like depending on which tier you subscribe to. If you decided to subscribe, you'd get bloopers, extra episode each month. Any like if we decide to do some live streams, we kind of want to hear from anybody that's listening. Like, what would you like to see on a Patreon? Because we want to do this for you guys, and I actually subscribe to a few podcasts because I love them so much that I want all that extra content. A Paranormal Chicks is one of them that was like the first one I ever subscribed to because I'm like, these girls are fucking amazing. Like, I need more of this. And they have a huge back catalog too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is we're gonna be working on that. And I'm switching things up a little bit today, so I'm gonna ask in the beginning if you guys could go onto whatever platform you listen to and give us a 5-star rating or a review, subscribe or follow the show, and download our episodes. These really, really help us out, become more visible to more people. It brings you up in like searches and things like that. We definitely want to, show up more in the algorithm and doing these things really, really help us grow. So if you guys could do that, that would be like super amazing.
My buddy recently told me that he tried to go in and leave a review, but there was like nowhere to do it on however he was listening to our podcast, there was no like review section. He found leave feedback, but that was for like the website itself or for the system itself, not for our
Oh.
podcast. So
Well, if you're listening on something like that, maybe just like go on to Spotify or Apple Podcast or, you know, whatever, like Pandora, iHeartRadio, anything like that, you can look us up and leave a review
yeah,
or, give us a rating and stuff.
okay,
Because we really like doing this and we want to keep doing it and we would love to bring you guys extra content.
yeah,
So do that, like do us a solid. We'd really appreciate it. But with that, let's go ahead and get into today's story. I do want to let everybody know ahead of time that this case is still unsolved, and it does, trigger warning, it deals with child death and the death of a pregnant mom. So it's a tough one today. The details are a little sparse, so it may not be as a heavy on the details as normal, but I did what I could. So,
okay,
all right. So let's get started. Like I said, this one does involve children, so take care when you're listening. Today we're heading back to 1998, actually December 1998, and we're in Tacoma, Washington, near the 1700th block of East 40th Street. And we're going to be talking about the unsolved murders of the Tran family. And the Tran family consisted of 26-year-old mom Linda, her 9-year-old daughter Patricia, her 1.5-year-old son Austin, and her unborn child, a son she had decided to name Joshua. At the time of their murders, Linda was actually 7 months pregnant with Joshua. So Linda Tran was born in Vietnam, but she came to the U.S. around the age of 6. She was really close to her family, usually going to her father's auto shop or home every day. Now, Linda had some issues when she was growing up as a teen. She would run away, stay out late, not the first teen to act out in this type
yeah,
of way.
yeah,
Linda actually dropped out of high school when she became pregnant with her first daughter, Patricia. I wasn't sure how, old she was, but Patricia was 9 years old when she was murdered. Linda was 26, so she was probably 16 or 17 when she dropped
yeah,
out.
yeah,
And it sounds like Linda's parents actually raised Patricia for the first few years of her life because Linda was still struggling with the responsibility. She was a young mom. Again, not the first or last person that has ever gone through this situation.
yeah,
And I can imagine, immigrating to a new country at such a young age. It would be tough. You would definitely struggle. You're moving to a country that doesn't speak the same language that you do. But When Linda got pregnant with her son, Austin, she had finally gotten her act together, so to speak, you know? She had enrolled in cosmetology classes, and I believe that both Patricia and Austin were living with her at the time. So
Okay.
she had both of her kids back. They were living with her. You know, she was doing what she could, accepted, and was thriving with her responsibilities, essentially.
Yeah. Okay.
So at the time of the crimes, Patricia, the daughter, was attending Larchmont Elementary School, and she was a fourth grader. She loved school, and she was a model student who also loved drawing, and she loved the movie Pocahontas.
Okay.
Um, it sounds like she was especially close with her grandparents, which makes sense because she'd lived with them a large portion of the time growing up.
Yeah.
So let's go to the night of the horrific crimes. It was December 18th, 1998, and Linda, along with her two children, were over at Linda's father's house, which she did pretty much daily, it sounds like. She would go to her dad's house or his auto shop. While she was at her dad's house, she got a call from someone claiming to be at her home with presents for the kids. The identity of this caller is unknown to her family.
Okay.
So they don't know who called her, but after receiving this call, Linda gathered up her two kiddos and she headed back to her own home to meet this unknown to us caller. Obviously, she knew who it was, but the family didn't know.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
don't think police know.
is this like oh, is it? Is it Christmas Angel Tree?
Oh, like where they
Like,
people like donate presents?
yeah.
Could be. I mean,
Is
we
this
don't know.
December?
It's December, yeah. So somebody, I
Yeah.
mean, it was like the week before Christmas, essentially.
Yeah.
But I
But it
don't
does
know.
seem weird. I know we've done that program, and
Yeah.
we meet in we don't go to people's homes.
No, we don't.
We meet in public places,
We met at the
parking
Target
lots
parking
and
lot, I
stuff.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's like like somebody that obviously she felt comfortable going home to meet this whoever person it was. So whether that person lied about who they were, I just don't know.
Yeah.
And this was 1998, so I don't think that there was like it probably wasn't a cell phone that they called on. They probably couldn't trace the call. You know, you had back in the I feel like you had to actually have like a trace on the phone in order to figure out who called.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know all that type of specifics.
Yeah, but
This is where if we ever get to interview a cop, it's definitely going to be like a Patreon episode.
yeah,
like yeah, like phone records in the 90s, landline to landline,
right.
traceable, like call the phone company and see who called. I feel like that's how they always showed it in the movies. Like,
Yeah. Now, I do okay, so while the details are scarce to us, that doesn't mean that the police don't have information.
true story.
And also in 1998, cell or payphones were still a thing. So somebody could have called from a payphone near the house, you know. So
Yeah,
and those you can't really trace. Like you can trace it to the payphone, but anybody can use the payphone.
yeah. So she took the kids with her.
Yep. So she took the kids with her because they had presents for the kids.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously that was very planned. Like, oh, you have to bring the kids. I want to watch them open it. Would
Yeah,
be
and that
my
makes
thought.
yeah, and that makes it counter the. I feel like the Angel Tree program, right, is you give the gifts to the parents so
Right.
that they get to then give them to the kids. It keeps the it gives the illusion that outside people aren't giving
Right.
giving your
Right.
kids
Right. Right.
gifts, right?
Yeah.
It's still coming from the family, from the parents, type of a thing.
So I do think it was probably somebody that she knew because again, she felt comfortable going home to take them. So I'm not sure what time she left her parents' house or her mom's or her dad's house. But we do know that around 8:15 that evening, police received a call about domestic violence, a potential domestic violence situation. At around 8:25 that evening, the Tacoma PD showed up to Linda's house, and when they got to her home, a massive fire had erupted in the duplex. By the time fire services arrived, the home was engulfed in flames, and sadly, Linda, Patricia, and Austin, along with Linda's unborn son, were all deceased. So we're
Yeah.
going to backtrack a little here.
Yeah, I already have questions.
I bet you do. So I'm gonna tell you some things, and then you can ask. Okay.
Okay.
So as I said, police had received a call about a domestic violence situation. From what I was able to find, a witness saw Linda being chased or threatened by a man with a baseball bat.
Oh.
Now, some of the reports also say that the man, they ended up going into the house. The man was like in the doorway and like got the children to come into the house as well. So I'm not sure if it was like right when they got out of the car from getting home, or however they got home, if the guy was waiting for them and chased her, or it's a little fuzzy, but we do know that somebody saw what was going on and was worried about it, so they called the police.
Okay.
From here, from there, so we know Linda and her two kids went into the home with this man, and one article said that someone who had called 911 about the situation was still on the line with an operator, and they heard screams, cries, glass being shattered, and all inside the house. And
Okay.
then, while still on the phone with 911, they saw the house explode. Witnesses say they saw the man who was wielding the baseball bat fleeing the home moments after the explosion. He was seen getting into a passenger seat of a car described as a dark colored sedan with someone in the driver's seat. So somebody was waiting for him.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. And we'll get into it, but they have some information.
Okay.
So obviously the family of Linda, along with the community, was devastated by the tragic deaths of the Tran family. You have a pregnant woman, two innocent children, three really, because, she was 7.5 months pregnant. So
Yeah.
we do know that their deaths obviously were clearly targeted, right? Like this was not, it doesn't sound like this was some random killing, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Police found a flammable substance in the home. Although what that substance is still unknown to the public, from what I could see. But it was a powerful explosion. The roof separated from the inner walls of the home, and
No.
yeah, so it was a big boom. Like they had put a lot of whatever this accelerant or flammable substance was.
Yeah.
And the violence used to kill the family was excessive. So the whole scene was brutal. The cause of death of the family was ruled blunt force trauma, smoke inhalation, and burns. I wasn't able to find like individually what each cause of death was, but these were what I found listed as causes of death for the family.
Okay.
So that means at the time of the fire, they were still alive, just
Yeah, at least
incapacitated.
somebody was, yeah.
Yeah, somebody, if whoever had the smoke inhalation was still alive, I hope that they were at least unconscious when the
Yeah.
fire broke out, because burning to death, I just can't even imagine.
Yeah. I think it's up there with one of the worst ways to go.
Yeah. I mean, these poor babies, they were suffering so much, including Linda. I mean, being hit with a baseball bat and then going through, I can't even imagine. Like, that's a lot of anger. That's
Yeah.
a lot of brutality towards children, especially. And a
Yeah.
pregnant woman. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Tell me about the baby daddies.
I will. I got that in here a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so police had a witness description, a description of a vehicle, and what they believed to be the murder weapon, a baseball bat left at the scene. Because of the fire, though, they lost a ton of potential evidence, and their crime scene was literally nothing but ashes at this point. Like, it made it really difficult to collect any other potential evidence that may have been left. Now,
Yeah.
even with the baseball bat left, DNA testing wasn't what it is today. Remember, we're back in 1998, so it was still a relatively new form of police work. Like, DNA evidence started being used in 1986, and it slowly spread across the U.S., right? Like, it's not like everybody had DNA testing right away. So, 98, you're still probably, it's a fairly new form of evidence, testing, police work.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe only in like major cities.
yeah. So, after informing Linda's family of the deaths, they learned that the day before, so it would have been December 17th, 1998, Linda had gotten home again from her dad's house, and noticed that the back window to her house had been broken. So either the back, I saw it was a back window or like the back window of a door. So like the back door window.
Okay.
Not 100% sure. Linda had called her cousin that evening to tell her of the incident, and it sounds like that her cousin called the police, and they chalked it up to either a failed burglary attempt or vandalism.
Okay.
The timeline of the crime suggests that this may have been planned, right?
Yeah.
Police received the call of a man wielding a bat around 8:15, and they arrived less than 10 minutes later to the house already on fire. So whoever committed this crime would have had already doused the house with the flammable material prior to the family coming in.
Yeah.
Because you have
right.
to think, like, he incapacitated and beat 3 people and spread this stuff all over the house. Like, I would have to think that they had been into the house before the family coming home, prior to
Yeah.
the family coming home.
Yeah.
So maybe they broke the window the day before just to create an entry point, right?
Yeah.
And you did this, doing it the day before would be a way to create access to the home, but also allow whoever did this to take off in case somebody called the police and interrupted them. So, like, trying to do it all in one night, like if you broke a window, somebody called the police, you can take off, but the window's still broken the next day.
Yeah. It hasn't been fixed.
Yeah. So it sounds like it was pretty planned out because, like I said, the murderer only had about 10 minutes to incapacitate the whole family and light the house before the police showed up.
Okay.
So in a King 5 interview, Detective Bob Yerbury, who was assigned to the case, was discussing the broken window incident and said, quote, "It is possible somebody wanted to send a message or lay in wait."
Well, yeah. It's this is pretty horrific. It's like, what are the motives?
Right.
And so it's like, if it's not like, if it were like some form of like domestic terror type of a situation, yeah, like breaking windows to make you feel unsafe is totally like, I want to say like as a prior a de-escalation from actual murder,
Yeah,
right?
true. So police created a sketch of the man seen with the baseball bat, but even with all this info, the case has had little movement. Around midnight that Friday night, so I believe the night the fire was set because December 18th was a Friday night, the police brought in someone they believed to be a person of interest, but he was released after police realized that this wasn't the guy they were looking for. So I don't know if he had an alibi or he wasn't who they thought he was. They were also searching for Linda's boyfriend, who may have also been the father of Joshua, the
Yeah.
son she was pregnant with.
Yeah.
But I never found a name, and whether or not the police have ever found this man, I was not able to confirm. I saw an article, I
Huh.
think it was like a year later, that they were still looking for this guy. But they never released his name that I found. So it sounds like he's obviously like a potential person of interest in the case. And with the savageness of the killings, police believe this is not some random case of violence. It was somebody who knew Linda.
Yeah.
One article I read said that Linda may have had a gambling problem, which could have potentially been a motive. But I only saw that in one article, so do with that what you will.
Okay. So it's always interesting to me when like gambling is a motive, because I feel like bookies want their money. So terrorizing a family, yes, like that would make people pay to make the behavior stop. Murder, on the other hand, you don't get your money.
Right.
Like, so in my mind, like I've never really liked that as like a motive per se, unless it's straight up like it's pure retribution. Like the person is like, I'm never gonna pay. I'm never gonna be able to pay.
We've given you so many opportunities.
Yeah.
You have to pay somehow, and if you're paying with your life and your children's life, then so be it.
Yeah, and
Which
then
is
that,
awful.
yeah, and that if you're doing that, it's more you're setting an example to let people know that they can't rip you off and get away with it,
Yeah.
right? So like in that sense, like sure, gambling can be like a motive, but like right, like I would think getting money is a bigger motive. So,
Agreed. Um, so what we do know for sure is it's almost been 25 years since this brutal crime. Fuck.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Need to do the Dwight Schrute interview. Peter picked the pickles. What he's doing the interview, and he's like, and they're like, God, stop it, Dwight.
Okay. What we do know for sure is it has almost been 25 years since this brutal crime occurred, and no one has been brought to justice for the massacre of an entire family. Police cited a language barrier as a hindrance towards their investigation. So, Linda's family, they were immigrants from Vietnam. Obviously, they spoke Vietnamese. But I would have to believe in the 25 years since the murders, they would have been able to find a decent interpreter, right?
Yeah, I mean, so this is Seattle,
Tacoma.
Tacoma. Okay, it's Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
All right, and while we don't have the racism of the South,
Yeah.
you have a large Asian community here because we are a Western port,
Right.
and we are far enough north that the I would say almost one of the biggest minority population is Asian, and I understand that they can be broken up into many different
Subcategory. Yeah, different countries for sure.
different countries, but right, it's I would say there's probably more Asian people here than like black people or Mexican people, as like what I want to say most people consider the like higher numbered majority minorities. I don't know. I'm not saying that right, but
I know what you mean.
yeah. So I mean, when you're describing like the fact that they had somebody like car description, like description of the person. When you were like, oh, they pulled in this guy, but it wasn't him, I'm like, that was like my first hints of like,
He was a black guy that fit the sketch.
well, in this case, it would be an Asian person,
Well,
and they don't,
so they,
but maybe it is a black guy. I don't know. But
yeah, so the sketch that they have, the description of the man was either black or Asian, dark skinned.
okay,
We have the sketch that we're going to include, but
okay.
yeah. Did racism, was there maybe a little bit of racism towards some,
Well,
it was a Vietnamese family?
yeah,
Perhaps.
right, yeah, and I mean, it might even be like not. I
Not
don't know.
necessarily the police, because I feel like the when I was reading the articles, the detective, he sounded very like, from the few articles I was able to find, because like I said, there's not a ton of information on this case.
Yeah.
He sounded pretty dedicated,
Okay.
right? So,
Yeah.
but one person being dedicated doesn't mean that they're,
Yeah, that like the people doing the legwork at the beginning, taking statements, talking to people,
right.
and maybe I should be clear. I feel like in the back of my head, I'm hearing my friends be like, "Well, not everything's racism, right?" But like, it might be bias. It might be
Bias for
enough.
sure,
It
yeah.
might be enough of like, I don't understand what these people are saying. It's like it's a minority population person. It's like, yeah, there might be enough of just the systemic bias that people have.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I definitely, in my mind, there is a difference between like outright racism and like
Lack of
bias
empathy.
in the system, like lack of awareness of those biases. It's like when we talk about like systemic racism, a lot of times we're talking about like we call it that, but it's a lot of it. It's like yeah, it's people who don't consider themselves racist just have some natural or they have biases because of like what they hear, what they see, like growing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
yeah, it in almost any culture there's an us and them mentality for people who look different.
Yep.
As long as there's some diversity, you're gonna have some of that.
Yeah. Which is sad. Right. So an interpreter, I would have to think they would be able to like get better information. I saw in an
Yeah.
article from 2015, they were talking about the murders and how it was still unsolved, and police were actually retesting the DNA evidence since, 1998 to 2015. Obviously, the technology has advanced considerably since the stuff was first tested. But so far, haven't seen any advances to the case. So I don't know if like any of that DNA that was retested brought in any new leads or information, but
Yeah.
none that I could find.
I mean, it could be that they have DNA of who they think the assailant was, but DNA works so
You have to be able to match it
you
to
have to be able to
somebody.
match it. Yeah, you have to have a sample of somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
like of the assailant, or like with the 23andMe and like the family DNA type profiles.
Yeah.
It's you have to have DNA of somebody close enough that you start to like align that match or start to make that match or zero in
Right.
on it. Yeah.
Yep. So, while many of the details of this case seem to be unknown to the public, I do hope that the police are just keeping them under wraps and have more than we're aware of, because it doesn't seem like they have a lot of information. Like they have a lot, but nothing that would lead, like nothing solid that would bring the killer or killers to justice. Like obviously, this person had an accomplice because they were waiting for them in a car. Now, whether that person knew what the guy was going to do, unknown, but I would feel like he probably brought that accelerant, that flammable with him, so that person had to know, like, that person had to have known that something shady was going to go down, right?
Well, to have like an explosion like that, I've been mulling over like the explosion part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me says like you have to have like gas and you have to have like a concentration of it.
A
Like
lot of it.
it's not just you sprinkle gasoline, like pour gasoline all over a bunch of stuff and then you light it on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like from the movies, like that doesn't create an explosion. Like, maybe you light a can of gasoline on fire, but like I would say the most common like thing of what you're describing is like you have a gas stove and you turn it on and let it run, 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 run,
Oh,
run,
could be.
and then you spark it and it
Because it still has that
explodes. Yeah.
line of gas.
Yeah.
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 Could
To
be.
where it's like for it to knock the roof off, like that had to have been like you have to have quite a bit of force to do that.
So I don't think it like
Or a
blew it
pretty
completely
weak.
off, but it like separated, like the roof at least like bumped away from the walls.
Yeah.
I don't think it like blew it off into outer space, but
Yeah, because
there
it
was
burned
enough
down, right?
force.
Yeah.
Yeah, the house was essentially ashes at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it feels like
So yeah, there's definitely some weird things about this. I feel like you still haven't told me about the dads.
so.
Like who were persons of interest? You got a sketch of a guy, but
We have a sketch of the guy.
okay. Sorry, I'm throwing your timeline out.
No, it's okay. I forgot to mention that. So while Linda and her family were really close, they did not know much, if anything, about the father of Austin and Patricia. I don't know if they had the same father, but her family did not have any details from what I can tell about the father of their children. So despite them being close, they didn't know. Like she was 16 when let's say she was 16, 17 when she got pregnant with Patricia.
Yeah.
She's in high school. I don't know if it was like a language barrier thing, I want to say, like, or if she just didn't tell them,
Yeah.
because you can't force somebody to tell you something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it sounds like the family doesn't have a lot of information about the fathers or father. I
Well,
don't know if they're
yeah.
separate ones.
Okay.
They did think that the boyfriend at the time, I said that right? That the boyfriend at the time was
Yes.
potentially the father of the
Joshua.
Yeah. But other than that, I think they know who the boyfriend was at the time, but they haven't been able to find him that I saw. They were still looking. Like a year later, there was a follow-up article about this, and either the family was upset because they hadn't brought in the boyfriend or they weren't able to find the boyfriend. Again, I was like reading the newspapers.com because you have to have a subscription and I'm cheap, so I just read through the transcript. It's a little muddled, but it doesn't sound like I don't even know if police were able to track down who the fathers were if they didn't know. Again, they could be keeping a lot of this information under wraps to preserve the integrity of the case. Like, right? Police will
True.
often withhold details in order to be able to, if they bring somebody in, if the details aren't public and this person has those details, then that can help implicate them,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't know a lot about who were the father or fathers of her children.
Okay.
So, like I said, this
Yeah.
one,
Sorry, I do have a comment on
yeah,
that.
so go
Yeah.
ahead.
So it's like, I guess that is interesting considering there's 3 kids basically involved, right? Like,
Yeah.
I get maybe the first one, like she's in high school, could be a random classmate if she's running around like you were saying she was, like leaving the house, kind of staying out. Maybe she fell in with a group of like older. It could be even somebody older.
Right.
There are those people out there who prey on like teenage girls,
Teenage girls that are going through stuff,
Oh, 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, teenage girls that are vulnerable because they're
Yes.
dealing with stuff that most teenagers shouldn't have to deal with.
Yep.
So, but then yeah, the middle kid is interesting because yeah, it's like okay,
There's quite an
like,
age gap. So
right?
Patricia was 9. The Austin was just under 2.
Yeah, so like that's a more recent pregnancy. Like she's an adult. Yeah, that one I think stands out a little bit about not really knowing the father.
Yeah.
Um,
Or at least her family didn't know about the father.
Yeah, and it could be an estranged. Maybe she's a little estranged from her parents if she was running away that much and stuff. I don't know, but she was at the dad's house.
Yeah,
Right?
so by this point when she got pregnant with Austin, she had kind of cleaned up her act, so to speak.
Yeah.
She had taken back Patricia, she was raising this family, she was going to cosmetology classes. She seemed to be doing well, and she was close with her family. Like, she was
Yeah.
a lot of the things said she was like literally over at her parents every day, or her dad's. I think I saw in one article that her mom was actually back in Vietnam.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I don't know if like the parents were divorced or she had moved back after the murder. Again, the details of this case, it was really hard to find any concrete details.
Yeah.
Which is why it's a shorter episode, the
Yeah.
story still deserves to be told because it is still unsolved.
Unsolved mysteries.
Because the case is still unsolved. And
Yeah.
it seems like there's so much that the police have, right? Like, this person ran away on foot.
Wait, who ran away on foot? I thought they got in a car.
Oh yeah, sorry. They did. They ran away on foot.
They saw them running.
They saw them running and get into a car.
Yeah.
You're telling me that nobody saw a license plate? Nobody saw, like, they have a sketch of the guy. It just seems like
Yeah.
it's hard to. This isn't like a random serial killer that's like covering their tracks. This person was kind of sloppy, right? Like, they
Very.
left the bat, which could have their DNA on it.
Yep.
Multiple people saw them. Like, somebody called the police because they saw them before he even committed the crime. Like,
Yeah.
it feels like this one should be solved.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, I agree with you that yeah, there should have been more, which is why it leads more towards like I want to say it feels like the conspiracy theories about like the gambling and like you know what I mean, like maybe she was into drugs and it's like it's kind of like
What don't we know?
yeah, it really is like the what don't we know, like how does somebody do something so horrific and get away with it?
Yeah.
And I would say the first thought that comes to my head is this person does terrible things all the time and is like a known bad person in the community
Yeah.
and they just can't tie it or they're trying to get him for something bigger or maybe they already got him for something and so it was like, well, that person's already behind bars and we don't have enough evidence to
Could be.
put them there, to tie them to this crime, but
The fact that
Yeah.
there's not much coverage of this case, like, there was a handful of articles that I found,
yeah,
but the fact that it's something so horrific,
yeah. I figured we would have heard about it more.
I did not hear about this until I was searching unsolved cases in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. Where's a fucking Dateline episode?
There was none. They I don't even think they were on America's Most Wanted. Like there was a blurb on there, but I don't think that they actually. There's a show called Missing Northwest that talked about this case,
Okay.
but it's not well known. And I don't want to play like the race card,
Yeah.
but as we saw
But
with
that's where you went.
well, for example, as we saw with the Gabby Petito case, right?
Oh, yeah.
That a missing white young lady had a ton of coverage on her disappearance, right?
Yeah.
Tons of coverage. There are very similar situations where people of color have also been in that situation that we've never heard of. They hardly get any news coverage.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, sorry. I view Gabby as like she was a social media influencer, right? Like
oh, was
it
she?
was. Yeah, I thought that's
Oh,
what
maybe.
part of the thing of like her and her boyfriend traveling was she was trying to be like
An
an
influencer.
influencer, like posted about her travels.
Yeah.
Enough to where like in my mind, so in my mind the Gabby Patino thing, or I don't know if
Petito.
I'm, yeah, the Gabby case, because I'm never gonna get that last name right. So in my mind, the Gabby case I thought had some extenuating circumstances. But you are right about the like, like you tend to hear more about the white women that get murdered or go missing than minorities,
Right.
for sure, right?
Yeah.
Like, in our episode about the Native Americans in Rapid City,
Right.
we touched on the indigenous,
The
the American
missing
Indian and indigenous
the
peoples.
MIW, yeah,
Yeah.
missing indigenous women and people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that's like a whole subgroup. I think they
Canada has a big subgroup of that, like missing in Canada, indigenous
yeah.
women and stuff that
Well, yeah, so sorry.
no, it's
Sorry
okay.
to cut you off, but with that, I saw recently that there was in the last few months, or maybe in the last 6 months, there was a TV series about that. About what's her name? $1 Million Baby.
Hillary Swank.
Hillary Swank.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that TV show.
Hillary Swank did a TV show where she's like a detective. I don't think she's a detective. I think she's a journalist.
Yeah, we haven't watched that yet.
We haven't watched it, but she goes to Alaska to
Yes.
investigate all these missing women, the indigenous women going missing and stuff. And she's up there to write a story about it to try to bring coverage, and it's like she gets embroiled in the mystery and like the
Right.
murder and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I wanted to highlight that as like, hey, there is this show out there that is trying to like
Oh, and they've had
put a little bit
documentaries
of
about it and stuff
yeah.
too, but
But that was like I think that's like a primetime show or like a Hulu original, a Prime original. It's
Yeah.
one of those. It's like
on a bigger
Yeah.
network streaming service for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But I mean,
Because yeah,
I don't want to get too political because
Yeah.
we try to accept everybody's other beliefs, but I don't think this case got as much as it deserved.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah, obviously for how horrific this is, like it's like where the hell are the details? Where's the
Right. And
where's the
again, sometimes they
legwork
don't,
with
like I said, they don't release details, but it just seems like this. I mean, this is a family massacre, and there was not a ton of coverage on it,
Yeah,
Yeah. And I have to believe that because it was a Vietnamese woman and family,
yeah,
that it just, I don't know, it feels bad. It feels bad. The fact that there was so hard, like, if this was a white family that was murdered in this thing, there would
Yeah.
be a documentary on it probably,
Oh yeah,
But again, I mean, the fact that even if it wasn't like outwardly racist, like you said, I feel like there was some bias towards,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. What about the idea that I for some reason I've always felt that like Asian communities are potentially like closer knit, like because they feel like
They don't get the justice or protection that they need.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
fair.
I'm wondering if maybe people didn't help out the police because they were like, you know what? we have an idea of who this is, and we're going to take care of it ourselves. You know, I mean, it goes back to that vigilante justice type thing.
Right.
Um, so it is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's really some standouts on this one. Yeah, like the boyfriend, right? Like what are our usual things? It's like look at the family, look at the close contacts, like what's happening there.
They
And the
always
fact,
look at the significant other first.
yeah, and the fact that like you found zero information about this guy,
Mm-hmm.
like
And to be fair, police may have found him. I just didn't see anything about it. Like, I couldn't find anything that they
mm,
had talked to him.
yeah,
But it could be if they did talk to him and he had, like, a solid alibi or they ruled him out, you know, you don't need to publish his name because he doesn't need that type of notoriety if he was innocent, in fact. But I feel like somebody would have said, like, oh, they brought in the boyfriend, but I really couldn't find
right.
anything that said they did.
Yeah, I would have figured you could do it generically and not name him like exactly like you said,
Yeah.
but still put that information out there that oh hey by the way, like we've talked to them, they're not a person of interest anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really all we have on this. Like I said, there's not a ton of details, but I do believe that this story deserves to be told because it's unsolved and the family, the family deserves answers and the person that did this needs to be brought to justice because it is mind-boggling how horrific and callous this person was to murder a 2-year-old, a 9-year-old and a pregnant woman. Like
Yeah,
it seems like such a so much overkill for like how mad do you have to be or how pissed off do you have to be able to do something. And I have to believe, like I said, this person had to have gone into the house before because there's no way they could have created that type of explosion and fire in the home,
yep,
murder, incapacitate the 3 people
yep,
in 10 minutes. There's
yeah,
no way. So it had to have been. And the fact that some people said that they saw him standing, like coercing the children to come inside. He was hurrying because he knew what he wanted to do. Like this
yeah,
person knew that they were going over there to kill the children.
yeah,
You could have left the children outside and like incapacitated the mom or did whatever. Like
yeah. They might have known who he was.
true. And I feel like for her to leave her family's house to go get presents, like I feel like it'd have to be somebody she knew. And police also believe it had to have been somebody that she was at least familiar with enough to leave and go get presents because,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
now I'm doubting the presence story. Like if you go towards the gambling or some other trouble,
she could have just
the
made that up to
the
get out of the house.
exactly the
Fair.
presence is an excuse to leave and go back to the
And not
house
tell your family what was
and
going
not tell
on.
your family what was
Fair.
going
That's
on.
very, very fair.
Like we talked all about presence. They had another person. I mean, like she could still know the person and make up a story.
Right. Very true. I didn't even think about that. Look at you. Look at that true crime
That
brain.
skeptic.
So sexy.
Well, it was only till we came to the end. I'm like, yeah, why this thing is so weird.
It
Like
is.
about how little information and how,
It
like,
seems like they have
yeah,
so much that would help them catch it, but it's also so little known to us.
yeah,
So I'm including the links to the tip lines because, like we said, this is unsolved, and but I'm going to give them to you now too. If you have any information about these tragic deaths, please call the Tacoma Police at 253-798-4721, or you can make an anonymous tip to Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS.
just the tips.
Just the tips. So on our social media, I'm also going to include a sketch of the suspect. If you guys have any information, if anybody out there listening happens to be like, oh, I lived in that area at the time, or I saw this, or if you even have heard things that you were like, you maybe were familiar with the situation, call it. If you don't want to, if you want to get the information out there, but you don't want to tell who you are, you can call, you can do it anonymously. Just put it, like if you have anything that you think may help, just give it to them because this is a truly terrible, horrific crime. And it has gone unsolved for over 25 years. And it's almost 25 years. And it's awful. Like these poor kids were innocent. They had nothing to do with whatever happened.
Yeah,
And they deserve justice. Linda deserves justice. Like this is, regardless of anything else, this family deserves justice.
yeah.
So if you have any tips, please call them in. Again, we'll put it in our show notes, but you guys can also, rewind and get the number. So, Adam, before we go, any last thoughts?
Trying to think. I feel like I covered quite a few of them already.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry if that threw you off a little bit on
No,
your
it's okay.
timeline and stuff.
I feel like I'm a little all over the place today with this one because it's just like, so I had been researching this, and then I told Adam last night I found a website, I think it was Reddit, and this person had written this article that had all this stuff, and I'm like, where did they get all this information? Well, this person was awesome, and they also like included the links. So I went in and added more stuff because
yeah,
even the stuff that I found, that Reddit article was amazing because this person had so much information.
yeah,
But even with that, it's still not a ton of info.
yeah,
I mean, really, this was going to be we were going to do it as like a preview of our Patreon because there just isn't a ton of information. But again, we want to get the information out there.
yeah,
But then I found this other information, so I went in. I wanted to add it because as much detail as possible. But still, there's just not a ton of details.
yeah, yeah. And having helped to write some episodes and present some episodes, I know when you find like a good source after the fact, like it's tough because like it's like the way I write them is like I try to either timeline it out or something, and so it's like going back and putting in information up above like throws off the rhythm sometimes.
Yeah.
Or if you put it at the bottom, now it feels like you might be like rehashing some points,
Right.
and so you're like, well shit, like I don't really want to do that either.
Yeah. So if this feels a little disjointed, that's why, because I did find a great article this morning when I was looking, just kind of like rereading through my stuff. But we did want to put as much information as possible because, like I said, there's just not a ton available.
Yeah, and we are recording in the morning.
We are.
So
We're like all kinds of, we're out of our normal rhythm, and you and I are routine people for sure.
for sure.
100p.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I got laughed at by my buddy about like how early I go to bed on the weekends.
hey, you know what? I we are sleep people, all right?
Yeah.
We are dinks to the max. We are dual income, no kids, and we love our life. We love our nieces and nephews and our friends' kids and all that.
Yeah.
But we also love not having kids.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits of not having kids is you can go to bed when you want, you can wake up when you want, you can take naps. The only hindrance is we have cats.
Yeah.
Who sometimes like to wake us up.
They like to wake us up like kids like to wake up people.
Yep.
That is true.
Like Jaxie comes in. So, you guys, our babies are precious.
But then I roll over and I go back to sleep because they're just cats, and it's more about like
You don't have to
get
get up
off
and
of
like
me.
take care of them.
Yeah, you don't have to go get them anything. You just push them off you and be like, not now. I'm not playing with you now.
Jaxie comes in the mornings on the weekends. When I get up, if I get up to go to the bathroom early in the morning, he'll hear me. If he's not in bed, he'll come running and lay on my chest and purr and get snuggles.
Yeah.
I got that this morning.
Oh, okay.
And then Winnie jumped up, and he jumped down very soon after.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the flip side is this afternoon I didn't sleep very well. So guess what?
Nap
I
time.
gotta take a nap.
I might join you because I love naps.
And then I took a nap.
And then I took a nap. I don't know if anybody's following.
Yeah.
This cat on, it's Rhaegar on TikTok. It's like a little gray kitten. So fucking cute. His name's Rhaegar, but his mom calls him Rhaegaroony. And he has a brother named Neddard Stark.
Okay.
And then they have a sister, a Doberman sister named Stella. But this kitten is so cute. But Adam always hears it when I see it because he's like, and then I sucked my tail and took a nap.
Yeah. Yeah, the way they do it is very unique.
It's very cute.
I don't think I did it right.
No.
Definitely can't do it with my lower gravelly voice, sick voice.
With your
sure.
sexy, sick voice like
My
Phoebe
sexy,
from
sick
Friends.
voice.
I need my cold bag. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen that Friends episode.
Are you lying?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. The way you said it kind of was sarcastic a little bit, so I'm like, are you lying? You lying?
You fooling? You goofing?
No boot goofing. Anyway, so yeah. So that's the case. We really hope that, they find whoever did this and they have to pay for what they did because, again, it's just, for how just absolutely devastating this was, it's very sad that it doesn't get a ton of coverage. Now, again, this was 98. Like, the internet was not huge back in 98, so it's not as easy to research stuff as well because you have, old magazine articles, news archives that you have to pay to view. But I'm cheap and just scroll through the transcripts that are available.
Yeah, to get political, we were too busy worried about the president getting blowjobs in the White House
Fair.
around this time, probably.
I mean, that's
December
breaking.
'98. Yeah.
That actually popped up when I looked. It did pop up because I searched what day of the week it was because they said that Friday they brought somebody in. So I was like, okay, what day of the week was it? And I when I typed in December the date, the first thing that popped up was the Clintons shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know.
You can cut all that political stuff.
Oh,
But
I'm
yeah.
leaving it. I'm
But
leaving
yeah.
it. Well, as always, thank you guys for listening. We're going to say it again. Don't forget to subscribe and download our show, as well as leave us a positive rating and a review for whatever platform you're listening on. You can help us out by sharing us with your friends and family on your social media, all the things. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, all just Creepy Cascadia Pod. And you can also check out our website, which is creepycascadiapod.com. Or you can email us at admin@creepycascadiapod if you have a suggestion for a show topic, if you just want to chat, if you have ideas for what you'd like to see on our Patreon, if you're thinking you might want to join once we start. And I also saw there is a way to put your podcast on YouTube. So we're going to look into that to hopefully maybe see, just expand our audience a little bit. So be on the lookout for that. We're working towards expanding the podcast because I want to do weird stuff.
Don't say it that way.
What? All right. Well, anyways, so with that, we hope everybody has a great week. Hopefully everybody has all of their fingers at the time of this episode because it is 4th of July. Be careful, be safe. We hope everybody has a great week, and we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. All right, bye.
Bye.